In this week's episode, we sat down with Juli Hilton. She's the owner of Kitchen 747 and Mojoe's Cafe and Creamery out of Roseville, California. And that's just the beginning of the story. Juli's going to walk you through where she grew up, her passions for sports throughout high school, and then how she picked up the sport of golf in college. And that's going to take you on a journey where she played 2 years amateur traveling the country with her husband and young child to earning her pro card and spending some time in the LPGA. I'm confident you're going to enjoy this conversation with Juli, where she's at today, how she's giving back to the community, where she sees herself in the future. So stay motivated, stay inspired, and enjoy this episode of Tell Us Your Story.
Welcome to Tell Us Your Story, the podcast that tells the diverse stories of businesses, leaders, and influencers throughout Northern California. Our mission is to ignite inspiration, foster education, and bring our community together. Join us as we unravel the path to achievement, discovering how these remarkable businesses and leaders navigated obstacles, conquered hardships, and transformed failures into success.
I grew up in Saratoga, the Bay Area, basically, over by Los Gatos. I'm the youngest of three girls, and a normal childhood, nothing spectacular, nothing, very normal. My parents were entrepreneurs themselves. Kind of, my dad was a stockbroker, and then they opened flower shops, Christopher's Flowers. So they had like kiosks, like drive-through flower shops, and then that was kind of my first job, was working in the flower shop.
And what was the age difference between you and your sisters?
I have an older sister, Lori, who's almost 3 years older than me, and then my oldest sister is 9 years older than me.
Oh, wow. So big gap there.
Yeah. Close. She's actually from my mom's first marriage, but I didn't even know that till I was like 18. So she's my sister. So
close to all sisters, both sisters?
Yeah.
And then what about going through elementary school, middle school? What kind of, were you a student? Were you an athlete? What would you say?
Social.
Not social. I was an athlete, basically. I was like my dad's son that he never had. I love that. Played sports all growing up through college. So, I was, I'm a good student, not anything spectacular. My sisters are definitely more intellectual than I am. I got the athlete gene. They got the smart gene.
What sports did you play?
Yeah.
I played basketball and tennis, mainly growing up through high school. And then turned to golf in college.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was actually a golf pro for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
The story, we just got started. It's going to get really good. Wow.
Yeah.
So what, as far as growing up with your parents, like being entrepreneurs, was that anything, I know sometimes at the time you don't really recognize, but were there things that you were, in the way they, work ethic or anything there that kind of made you start to think, plan for later, or were you just really focused on kind of sports?
No, I was really focused on sports. I wanted to be a physical therapist when I was kind of later high school years, probably because I was into athletics and stuff. But I think just knowing how they opened their own business and seeing them do different things. My mom opened a clothing store later on, and then my dad really just did a lot of investments. So it kind of showed me you could do anything, right? It doesn't really matter what you do in college. You can do whatever your heart's desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 53.
53. You look incredible for 53.
Thank you.
For 43. So we're about the same age. So when I think back to the high school years, women's basketball wasn't as big as it is today.
No, not at all. No.
So were you at a big community, big school?
It was a small school. Saratoga is like, there was like 4 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. So we all kind of knew each other going through schools. I played basketball. I thought I was going to play basketball in college. That's what I was really good at. But we were such a small school, I didn't get picked up, and just wasn't really in the cards.
And so going through your high school year, you said played basketball. I would assume you were golfing then if you...
I wasn't really. That's the ironic thing. I played basketball and tennis, and I tore my rotator cuff my senior year. So I kind of was off not playing tennis as well. And then I went to college and was so bored because I wasn't playing sports that I picked up golf a little bit more the summer after my freshman year. and started playing with my dad. My dad was a golfer. He played for San Jose State with Ken Venturi. Like that was a pretty popular golfer. So, I mean, I had played. My parents belonged to Almaden Country Club, and I had played before, but not like really played. So I started probably when I was about 18, I would say.
Interesting. So if we go back to your high school years, I'm going to guess that you were not in trouble. You're a good student.
I was a good student. Yeah. I mean, I went out to parties and stuff, but nothing too crazy. And a good student in math. I'm more of a math-minded person than like reading or English and stuff. So, but kind of quiet. I don't, I had this, one or two groups of friends, but I would say probably awkward and quiet.
So take us through that decision when you're going to college. So you thought you were going to play basketball, or were you waiting on an offer?
Not really. I mean, waiting for somebody to look, but yeah, one of my best friends and I played on the same team. She was the point guard and I was the forward, and she went on to play at UC Santa Cruz, and I wasn't like waiting on an offer. I was trying to decide where I wanted to go to school. I thought I wanted to go to Boulder, and I got in, but my sister was at USC, and I was kind of like nervous about going off by myself. So I got into USC, and I decided to go there because she was there.
And I would imagine at USC, even the women's program was big at the time.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so walking on,
there was
never
no
an option?
no, not really.
Okay. Did you ever consider it?
No, not at all. But I did walk on their golf team the next year, which is ironic.
Okay, so now let's take you to
I know.
college. So,
And you were going for physical therapy. Is that what you had? You did.
Yeah,
you were sticking to that. Got it. Okay.
So the dream of basketball gets set aside, as well as tennis, and then out of boredom you picked up golf, or?
Yeah, I tried rowing the first year I was there, and that was not for me. My sister rowed at Stanford for a little bit, so I was like, oh, maybe that's for me, and it was not. So I went home that summer, and I started taking lessons from a woman named Barbara. I can't remember her last name. And she happened to be good friends with the coach at USC. So I was taking lessons all summer, playing every day with my dad and just out at Almaden, and she called the coach and said, I'm pretty athletic. So she saw probably potential and just said, hey, I have this girl that's really has potential and she goes to USC. She'd love to walk on and just see what you think. That's probably what the conversation was. So I did. I showed up and I walked on, and this is, 30 years ago, right? I don't know. 89.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1989. So women's golf was not that big at that time. So they had a small team, and her name was Kathy Bright, was the coach's name. And she let me walk on, and she just let me practice with the team all year. She let me try to qualify for tournaments, but I never did. But I got to practice all year. I got all of the perks that every other player got. I just never traveled to a tournament.
It's pretty amazing. So for those of you who don't know, I've been golfing for 25 years. I couldn't walk on a team today. It's not an easy sport to pick up.
Yeah.
Did it just come natural to you?
It did.
And then how much work were you saying? You're practicing with the team, but how much outside of practice was
you're
it?
playing every day.
Yeah.
Hours, 2 to 3 hours every day. 5 or 6 days a week, probably.
So you were committed.
Yeah.
And then as you're going through college, is your vision changing on what you want to be as far as a physical therapist?
Yeah, because I couldn't get into the labs that, I wasn't, again, I'm not very school minded, so I wasn't really wanting to go into the chemistry and the biology labs. And it was hard not really that year because I wasn't traveling with them, but I was still doing my GE classes at the time. So I ended up transferring to University of San Francisco my third year because they were just starting a women's golf team. And they only had 4 players, and you can travel with 5. So I reached out to the coach, and he said, yeah, you can walk on and see how it goes. So I transferred, and that's when I changed my major to sports administration instead of the sciences.
So this is a pretty big move to change schools for a sport. So at this, have you shifted to now I'm going to play professional golf? Was that
maybe not professional, but I wanted to play in college for sure.
Yeah. Wow. And how did those 2 years go on that team?
I stayed for 3 years. Great. I moved from the bottom to the top and got scholarships my last 2 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so it was pretty fun.
And did you graduate? Did you get the degree as well?
I did. I got the degree as well.
The full package.
Yeah.
The full package. So you had walked on and obviously made that try. Was the competition, was it?
It was good. Yeah, I mean, it's like. Again, it's 1980, 90, 91. So women's golf still is not big, and this was the first team that USF ever had. So they only had 4 players. He recruited Scott Sims was my coach, and he was doing the best recruiting he could. He got 2 sisters that were from Arizona that are 2 of my best friends now. One was playing at Florida, and one was just graduating high school. They were a year apart. And then a couple other girls that, were from California. And yeah, it was a lot less competitive than it is now, even though, women's golf is still a lot less competitive than men's golf, I'd say.
Yeah. What was that travel like? Did you travel a lot, different states? Was it kind of localized?
Yeah, a lot of it was in California. We'd go to like the UCLA tournament, the Stanford tournament, Oregon, Washington, all the West Coast teams.
Got it.
Hawaii, which was fun.
Oh yeah. It got you outside a little bit of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
And if you're familiar with the Bay Area golf courses, I mean, we were practicing at Olympic Club and Lake Merced and Presidio, like all of the top-notch courses, of which I didn't know any of them because I didn't golf growing up. So, yeah,
it sounds like you're living the dream.
It was.
Sounds like a good time.
It was a good time. It was really fun.
So, as you're graduating college, what's the vision? What's the plan?
The
Pro
vision
comes in somewhere.
The vision was then to play to get more experience. So growing up playing tennis was my main sport before even basketball. Played all the USTA tournaments, trying to climb the ladder. And I think as a kid, when you play something repetitively, it's just that natural. Like I could pick up a tennis racket now and still play really well. But starting golf later, it wasn't as natural, but it wasn't as like memory. What's the word? Like
muscle memory?
Muscle memory, yeah. So for me, it was to keep practicing a lot because I wasn't good enough to even come close to the pros yet. So I played amateur circuit for 2 years, just played all the top amateur tournaments, traveled around. And then I turned pro in like 96. I went to Asia, 1996 for 6 weeks, played some tournaments there, just played the mini tour, like the mini tour life, which was fun as a 20-something-year-old, but not rewarding as far as financials.
Yes, I say this.
I was just gonna ask if you were working during this or was it just
I had jobs. I mean, waiting tables I did work at a physical therapy office as an aide for a while. And then my parents helped sponsor me and just, whatever money I made would go right back to them. And so you're not making money, but it was just struggling to try to like make it on tour.
Yeah.
And so I'm really fascinated with, so you how did you qualify to be pro? What was that process like? Did you have to earn a card?
So you don't have to qualify to play on the mini tours. Like anyone can sign up and pay your $200 entry fee and play in the mini tour event. So there was a Players West mini tour and then there's a Futures mini tour, and the top like 5 players from the Futures tour would get their LPGA card at that time.
Okay.
But I was still only on the West Coast. I was just playing the mini tour. I played 1 season, I think it was in 96 on the Futures tour. My memory's so bad. And I didn't do very well. And so I playing from like 94 to 95, 96, it was pretty grueling and just not very rewarding. So 97, I started teaching, became a teaching pro, and then I got married in 1997 and decided to just kind of take a break. So I worked at my uncle's ranch, Christopher Ranch Garlic. It's a ranch in Gilroy. So I worked there from 97. Yeah, garlic. 97 to 2001. Not really playing a lot of golf. So I had my daughter in 1999. And then right after I had her, I started getting the itch to play again, just kind of, prioritizes your priorities, I guess. So I was like, God, all those little decisions that are so massive when you're golfing are not so massive when you have a child. So it was interesting to just kind of reassess, like, God, do I want to give it another try? And my husband was, I dated him all through college, so he knew everything we had been going through and stuff. But It's kind of crazy. In 2000, I just said, hey, what do you think about giving it a try again? Like, would you be okay if I did that? And we knew we wanted another child, so we decided to have our child before we did that. And then he was born in February of 2001, and we bought an RV and left in like a few weeks later to start playing mini tour events. My husband worked for Apple.
Wow.
And he took a 6-month hiatus from there, and he was caddying for me with our 2 kids in tow.
One baby, yeah. It just gets more fascinating.
I know,
we hear so much about the like support system to make some of this happen.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big decision. He's like, let's take a break, let's go. You have small children, like that's not everybody makes that decision. But
I know. I don't sit still very well.
Yeah, so when you're going through that decision-making process, there's a lot of drivers there. Like I can think, like for those who don't know golf, like it's an absolute grind. Like it's a commitment like no other. Like I'm a casual golfer. I could never play at that level because I just don't have that commitment. So were you looking at what was drawing you to it? Was it being the professional, competing? Was it money? What was the driving force between you?
It was never really money. I mean, it was always probably the competition, like just knowing that I felt like I had the talent to do it and just wanting to prove that I could do it.
So did you have regrets then quitting as you were making that decision to go back? Almost like I could have, would have, should have? No,
because I felt like I was really... It took me getting married and having a child to kind of reassess like my priorities. And I really felt like I needed that to kind of give me the drive again to do it. So no, I don't regret quitting at all. I don't know that if I hadn't quit, I don't know that I would even have pursued it further on. It kind of, yeah.
And there's different type of competitors. Like if I had stopped playing a sport, I'd watch people and I'd be like, oh, I could beat so-and-so. I'm going back. Was that ever? Were you following anybody? You're like, oh my gosh, I know I could compete.
Not at that point yet, because I didn't know. I mean, I only knew the people I was playing with on the mini tours who, we're all, and again, golf isn't really you're beating them, you're playing the course, right? So you're playing yourself. And that was always, to be honest, the driving force in me. I was kind of competing against my own mental strength, if that makes sense. Like it was really more about me beating myself and making sure that I beat the course and not like give into the mental confidence, the lack of confidence that you have when you play golf.
And was there any of that competitiveness against the golfers on the tour? Right? Or they're just some like,
some of them are. I mean, some of the golfers are super competitive. Like I want, they're playing against the other players, but in reality, you're never really playing against the other players. You're playing against the course. I mean, you're always, you could play as good as you can, but somebody can always play better, right? I mean,
true.
It's really against you.
Yeah, I just think when I go, I could have the best day of my life, but if I lost to the guy next to me, I'm like, I lost.
Well, and it might be a little different, yes.
Yes, it's different.
I meant with even the other sports is like, tennis, basketball, like those are very like other people are exactly.
Well, basketball's team, but tennis is still very individual.
Yeah.
I always feel like tennis players and golfers are unique in that they're individual sports, but they also only get paid if they perform. Whereas like if you're on a team, you get, so-and-so just signed a 5-year deal for $50 million, and yet they could get hurt the next day and they're, or not perform, and they could still get that money. It's just, but golfers and tennis players have to actually perform to get paid.
Yeah.
And there's only one winner out of 144 players, right? There's only one winner.
Yeah, that's really
There's a
tough.
lot of players out there that are going to lose. So if you look at it as a win-loss, you're not really losing, you're placing, right? You're just placing, so.
It's super interesting. And the mindset of being able to compete at that level, because to your point, you have to focus on what you're doing. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing.
And it's funny because growing up playing tennis, I had all the confidence in the world, but golf, I never got. I mean, I did get there, but it was rare to have those rounds where it was like, super confident in myself as a player and as a competitor. And I think it was because I didn't do it growing up. It was much more difficult to get there.
Yeah. So golf is high highs and low lows. So how were you when you're going through that? You're having a bad round or you're having a good round. Did your approach change, or were your emotions change, or was it always you knew you had to 6-iron in? It was a 6-iron in, and you were able to block the emotions out.
Oh no, the emotions are always there.
And so, how did you deal with that?
I worked with a couple of sports psychologists and just different. One great thing that my college coach taught me was when you play, if you're always thinking about your score, you're likely going to just tank at the end of the round. Like, oh my God, I have to par in for the next 3 holes and I'll break 70 or I'll break 80. You start thinking like that and there's no way you're going to do it. It's almost impossible if you're thinking futuristically, like, if I do this, I will shoot this. So to stay present with every shot was always really important. So he always made me take 3 holes at a time. So I'd play 3 holes, like 1, 2, 3, and my goal was, 1 over par or 1 under par or whatever. So it broke it down into smaller. So lots of different tricks like that.
Yeah, and it helped manage the emotions.
And it helped manage the emotions. Or if you focus on, one part of your swing versus, every part of it, and putting, like there's so, there's
you
so
can't
much.
do it all at once.
You can't do it all at once, yeah. So.
I think athletes have such a fan of athletes, to your point, the mental toughness, the way that you have to, I'm sure it kind of transcends into your just personal life, business life, all of that. Anything as far as just maybe why you loved just being an athlete so much, different, no matter what sport you played, like, was there something about sports that
I don't know. I think there's kind of a running joke with friends around, like my whole family, like my 2 kids and my husband and I. My husband played soccer at UC Santa Barbara, and I've always been really competitive. And it's like I could find a competition in anything we do, and so now there's a joke, like friends of ours will be like, we are Hiltons because like we just all 4 of us just compete. We're playing pickleball the other night, and it's just I didn't think my kids were competitive but they're like, how can we not be competitive being your kids? Because you and Dad are like, we compete against each other all the time. So
but that's what I was going to ask. So the kids turned out
competitive. My son's probably the least competitive, but my husband and I are probably the most. I don't know that it's great for a relationship, but we compete in everything.
Yeah, I'm in the same type of relationship. And we're not always competing.
Yeah,
someone's
like,
always
we're on the same team,
yeah.
right? But yeah.
But are we?
But yeah, I just was always into all sports, and kind of like my dad's, like I said, the son that he never had, because I was probably more competitive than a lot of kids, boys. Yeah. I played on a boys' little league team and stuff like that.
So how long did that dream last? How long were you?
So 2001, 2, and 3 traveled in an RV with my husband and kids for all 3 seasons of the Futures Tour, which was the tour right below the LPGA. The first year was like vacation, super fun, like having a great time. Second year, got to get a little more serious if you're going to really make it. Third year, really tough. Tough on our marriage, tough on the kids, tough on everything going on. And that is the year I actually qualified for the tour. It's September of 2003. And so...
what made it tough? So tough?
Sean he was caddying for me part of the time, and, you're living in a box with 2 kids. You're putting your kids in daycares with people you don't know. Plus you're trying to play 4 days in a row, plus a practice round, plus a pro-am. So you're playing 6 days of 7, traveling 1, driving across the country. It was really fun the first year. The second year, we got a little more serious, and, Sean wanted me to succeed as much as anyone else. He was my biggest advocate, but yet I couldn't draw the lines between like our marriage and our professional relationship, where he could easily just be a jerk to me, like on the course, and assume that it didn't affect me personally, So it's just hard. It was
trying.
Hard. Yeah, it was trying.
Yeah. Did he ever go back to work, or
it's funny. Apple gave him the best. He left for 6 months every year, and they kept hiring him back. And then at the end, he was an independent contractor, and they would hire him back every year. Oh, he worked in the back.
I thought maybe it was remote before remote was like.
No, well, so it's funny. So in 2003, we qualified. I don't even think we were going to play the next year, except that we qualified. We had just moved here to Roseville. We came up and bought a lot in Morgan Creek. There's a golf community right here. And we were like going through designing our house and trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And he got offered a job from Apple that end of that summer after we qualified, and it was they said it was designing some new back end of a new music store that they were developing. Or no, it was actually developing the iPod, the first iPod, and then the music store. And he's like, who's going to pay 10 cents for every song? That's the dumbest thing ever. And he's like, no, I think we're going to still just go on. And, and he decided to join me on the LPGA. So it was funny, but it was the Apple store, obviously.
Yeah.
iTunes became pretty big. So we had Apple stock when it was not very profitable, but we don't have any anymore. Well, we do, but we bought it later. So 2004, we went back out on the road.
So let's talk about it real quick. So you make the LPGA. So you're in the pros. That's like a massive.
Yeah,
it was a dream.
Yeah, there was like probably 300 to 400 players. You have to go to 2 stages. So you go through Palm Springs or Florida for stage 1, and then you go back to Florida for stage 2. That's a month later. And there's probably 136 or 144 in that final stage. And I think they took 12 that year. 12 out of the 144 for an exempt card, meaning you didn't have to qualify for each tournament. And then they give a certain number of non-exempt cards where you can travel the LPGA, but you have to try to qualify each tournament. So I got the last exempt card.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. So I have so many questions.
Cool. And I went to Q school probably 4 to 5, maybe 5 times over those 10 years of golfing. Like in 1990, probably 5, 6, 7, and then in 2001, 2, 3 is when I went to the Q school. So I had quite a bit of experience at Q school.
So making it to the LPGA, now that you're able to look back, the 3 years before that, not past it, but just getting your card, was the destination or the journey the better experience? Because at the time if you get it, you're ready to quit.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Probably. It's funny. Obviously, I was really excited to get it, but it was almost like, oh crap! we have to do this again. Like, it was going to be easier because the LPGA has a daycare that travels with them, so that part of it would have been easier. But my husband and I just went through some serious times, and now we're going to do it again. So I don't know. I think the journey was great. Those 3 years, it was, an experience we'll never forget. My husband always kids me because he always says you live your life for the journey, which I do, not the destination. So I guess it's the journey.
Yeah, that's what I asked. Wow. So did you take that year? Did you go play? Mm-hmm. So, and how many years did you play in the LPGA?
Just that one.
Just that one. So tell us what happened.
It was trying on our family again. It was fun. It was hard work, a lot of work. Again, and I'm not making money, and my husband's making money half the year. So I'm sponsored by some friends and my family, and raising $60,000 to be able to do this. And I played in every tournament that year. I don't think I missed one. And he caddied for me the first 3 tournaments, I think, and then I changed courses and asked him to not caddy for me anymore.
And how did that go?
It didn't go well.
Oh, I thought it might have helped. No.
I mean, no, it was, imagine he was honestly a better caddy. He was the best caddy for me, but I wasn't able to draw the line again. So I think he understood, but it was a long drive from Phoenix to Atlanta. We didn't talk a whole lot after that.
Yeah.
I did qualify for the U.S. Open that year, actually, too. So it was a good year. I mean,
oh, wow.
I made a little money, but not a lot.
And so did you play in the U.S. Open?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
2004, yeah.
This is why I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
I know, nothing to do with the restaurant,
But I can imagine, with my wife, if I was on there, if you say something and like the emotions, the lines are very blurred. It's different when you're talking golf and then say something that hits you
high
personal.
Stress.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of husband-wife caddy teams out there. And if they are out there, they were and then they weren't. And then, you know, there weren't a lot that were successful, I don't think. So he caddied for other players. He didn't not caddy. He caddied for a couple friends of mine, and then I got a different caddy, and then But again, like I think I would have been more successful had I kept him as a caddy. I just don't know how our marriage would have been at that end part.
So as competitive as you two are, was there a time where he caddied for someone who beat you in a tournament?
Oh, probably, yeah. But it wasn't.
Did it not come back?
No, it wasn't. It was like I rooted for him and he rooted for me. Yeah.
Seemed like that might have been a button to push.
Yeah, no, not too much.
He's a smart man.
So were you? Things are, I guess, sport wise, things are going well. You're doing good.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about the future or the next, like post golf,
not
or
at all.
you're in the moment?
I mean, towards the end of the year, I knew I wasn't making enough. I knew I had to make a lot more money to keep my card. So you keep your exempt card by finishing top, however many on the tour. Otherwise, you have to go back and qualify again. And I didn't. And there, you know, there's a lot of players that would have probably, if they know they're right on the cusp where I was, you could take a medical exemption and then it would carry over to the next year. You could do a lot of things and to try to keep your card just to give you another chance without going to Q school again. But I didn't think I was going to play anymore anyway. Like if I lost my card. So, well, I guess I thought I did. I did try playing once I lost my card. I tried Q school again. I didn't get there. And I went to one mini tour event the first of 2005. It was in Arizona. My best friend lives in Arizona and stayed with her. You know, she let me drive her car back and forth to the tournaments, and it was just my kids weren't there, my husband wasn't there, and it was like, this is it, I'm done.
And so, was it a sense of relief, sense of disappointment?
It was a relief for me. I was like, I can't do this by myself, and I didn't want to be away from the kids. My husband was disappointed. He thought I should give it more time, but he always said, if you're not 100% in it, then don't do it, and I wasn't at that point.
And so, you were coming up on 20 years at this point? Or how long had you been?
I'd been playing, probably 15 years by then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
15, yeah.
Yeah, 2005, 95. Yeah, I started in like 89, 90.
Yeah.
So we'll transition a little bit, but when you closed that chapter, was there ever any regret?
Nope.
Always been done?
Yep.
And when you look back, just great to look back on it?
Yep. Yeah.
Very
We
cool.
have some great stories.
Very cool.
Yeah, really fun stories.
What was the highlight of your professional career?
I won a mini tour event in Decatur, Illinois, I think it was. I shot 66. Like, you remember the rounds that you shoot that were really good. And like, actually, no, it was a mini tour event in, I can't remember the name. It was here in California. Winning the tournament was great. Actually, I was pregnant with my son when I won the tournament. So it was really kind of fun. Playing on the LPGA was an experience I'll never forget. So much fun. Even though it was stressful and a lot of work, it was an experience like no other.
Yeah, there's very few people that can say that.
Right, they can say that. Yeah. One of my friends out there that also got like her card, and she was older than I was, but she was a professional tennis player and then played professional golf. And she is probably the only woman that's ever played in the U.S. Women's Golf Open and the U.S. Women's Tennis Open.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
And you're talking about shooting
people.
a 66. To put it in perspective, I golfed at Bodega Bay this weekend, and I shot a 53 on the first 9. She shot 66 on all thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm not a golfer, but I know the lower the better.
The lower the better,
On the
the
whole
lower the
course.
better.
On
Yeah.
the whole course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you finish with golf, and so what's the plan?
We moved up here. The plan, well, it was kind of a new plan because I was still good to play, but then I decided not to play. We had an au pair coming out from Brazil to help with the kids while I was on tour, which I didn't end up going. So I got a job at Morgan Creek as I was a teaching pro there, and then became the director of golf and ran it for 3 or 4 years until it went bankrupt. Not because of me, but just because of the development and the economy at that time. Obviously, 2008, 2009, the housing economy just tanked. And the developers of that golf course were also the developers of the housing community. So then 2009, we were still working there, and then an outside buyer came in and bought it, and he and I didn't get along, so I just hung up my teaching. I love teaching. I mean, teaching was one of my favorite things to do, and I think I was a really good golf teacher, but I was just ready to move on to something else.
And so when do you open your business? When's your first business come into play?
So I did a golf business. I taught kids how to golf after school. It was called Total Golf Adventures. I think they still exist. It was like a franchise. So I did that while I was at Morgan Creek, and it was 2000, probably 6, 7, 8 is when I did it. And then I sold that when I got out of golf, not for anything, just kind of gave it to somebody to hand over. And then I got into flipping homes. If that is kind of a
whole
not
different
really,
industry.
a whole different
So
thing.
I saw, as I was looking you up, I saw the real estate. I never saw the golf, so that caught me by surprise. So I did see the real estate, which is also different than restaurants.
Yeah.
So how long did you do that for?
2000, probably 7 years, 6 or 7 years. So my husband became a real estate broker. When we moved up here, he left Apple and wanted to run his own business. So he's a real estate broker. My uncle's daughter-in-law or stepdaughter was flipping homes in Gilroy. Like, it was a big thing to do in the 2007, 8, 9 era. And I've always been into like construction and like remodel. I just loved doing that kind of thing. And so knowing that my husband was a real estate broker, we kind of felt like we could do a good combo. I fix them up and then he sells them. And so again, we were working together.
I was going to say, there's a pattern. Just keep working together.
Right? Yeah. So my parents partnered with me. They kind of were the investors in the money wise, and I did all the work, and then we split the profits. So we did that 2000. Yeah, I think I started my first company, an LLC, 2009. I closed that one in 2012 and started another one just because you don't want to keep the homes that you flip like in the same LLC. So I've probably flipped over 50 or 60 homes in 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doing all of the...
I didn't do the construction. No, I would hire people.
But do you design and all? It was like your vision? Is that you or you just...
Yeah, it was... so it would be like that house stopped paying their rent, right? And so we would go to the county steps and buy the house for cash. You don't know different things about it. It's kind of cool. I love to gamble, and it was really like a high gambling thing. Like you're there paying, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 for a house that you've not seen.
Oh wow!
It's going into foreclosure, and then my husband would go to see if there's anyone in it, knock on the door, and then we would have to, if somebody's living in it, we have to go through the process of getting them out, and then the fun part for me was like remodeling the inside and working with the contractors to kind of get it into tip-top shape. And we'd either do an A, B, or C kind of package for pricing, and then that's when I would turn it over to Sean and he would, sell it. So it's like county steps, gambling on the house, fixing it up, and then selling it, and then doing, as many as you can.
You really need excitement in your life. It's like that whole, I can't sit still. I'm like, oh, she's not lying.
I know, if my husband weren't married to me, he'd be in the same house, in the same city, forever, but...
Oh my god, he seems to be keeping up quite well.
Does keep up
That's
very well.
good.
Yeah, I think he's learned.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then how do you transition from flipping houses to the next chapter? And what is that next chapter?
So we moved up here in 2005, and the community just kept growing and growing. And my husband and I we always talked about, like, we go to restaurants and we talk about, oh, this could be better. We should, we really need a restaurant on this side of town. And his was probably more talk. Mine was more like probably building in my mind, like, oh, we should really do this. It would be really fun. And so it just kept building and building. And I kept saying, as the more that West Park grew, like this area grew, I was like, God, somebody's has a gold mine if they can figure out how to open a restaurant out there. So that was probably 15, 16 that I decided I kind of took a few years off. I played a lot. I got back into playing tennis. And our flips became rentals, so we were just kind of property managing rentals from 2015, 16, 17, I'd say. And then, yeah, I just started looking at different buildings for a restaurant. And I kept talking about it. And my son then finally was like, "You're talking about it a lot. Are you ever going to really do it?" And again, challenge taken.
Yeah.
One of the gals I played tennis with, her husband's a commercial real estate broker, and he said there's no buildings out that way. There's it's just houses. So you're going to have to either open one over there or find somewhere to build it. And so he found this lot, and I met with the owners of the lot, and they were the owners that developed all of West Park, and they were two local Roseville guys. And I told them what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to open a restaurant. I don't want to develop a commercial. I've never done that, so I don't know how I would do that. Can I just buy a small part of it? And then we talked through it, and they kind of helped me out, and they said, we can put you in touch with the right people to help you if you can find the financing. And so with my parents' help, again, they partnered with me, and we bought the lot in 2018, May 19. Yeah, 19.
So opening a restaurant, it's one of the most failed businesses, massive risk. So you like to gamble. Your support system, are they all in on your vision? Was there convincing that needs to be done? Your parents are coming in to help?
Yeah, my husband's probably my biggest support system, and he believed fully that this would be a successful location. And you hear location.
Yeah.
The other option that we were thinking of was to try to somehow get back into the golf business and save Morgan Creek from the owner that's there, because they were letting it get into really bad shape. But there wasn't really any growth in that. It was just gonna be what it was. So, so doing this, my parents, they were just super. I mean, they're super supportive. I could never do it without they're pretty well off and without their backing, because a bank would never loan us money with just my limited experience in the development industry, but also the financial backing. We did well flipping homes, but not that well. So they were a huge support. They didn't get involved. They weren't verbal partners. They just supported me.
Were you nervous so there's buying, but right, and you build the building and all that stuff, and then there's the actual you're running a restaurant. So were you nervous that all this was an industry you didn't know or weren't comfortable? You just thought, oh well, I'll learn. Well,
it was kind of a twofold, because when I bought the property, it was a really good price for the property. I could have just sat on it for a few years and probably made a lot of money just then reselling the lot. Oh, so yeah. I knew just buying the property, it was nothing different than buying a fixer-upper house. Mm-hmm. So I sat on it for a while and thought, okay, what am I going to do? How do I really do this? How much money do I need to do? How much money do I need to get an architect involved to just design it? And how much and then there's that point of no return where you then say, okay, let's do the construction documents. That's when you're all in, because that's when it's really expensive. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to get them to just do the plans. So that was probably 2018. I don't even remember. God, it's so funny. 2018 was probably when I decided, okay, we're going to go through with actually the development part of it. And it was when we took the loan out from the bank that I started having a couple anxiety attacks.
Oh, this is
really do this is real. What if this doesn't work? But it was Tri-County Bank, and they were, they knew the area and they knew what my vision was. I already the architect had drawn the plans, a conceptual plan. So, the two restaurants were my passion. That's what I wanted to open and run, because I felt if I just let somebody come in and run a restaurant, if they fail, they're not going to be able to pay their rent, and then the rent for the whole, it was going to be the Safeway, the anchor of the center, right? It's not a grocery store, but it's going to be a restaurant. So it was more of just really believing in the idea and the vision, which I thought in Roseville, in this area, there's 40,000 people in a 2-mile vicinity.
You can make it
so
work.
There's if I could just offer good food and a great atmosphere, I felt people would enjoy it. They would come, and 40,000 people in 2 miles is a lot.
I heard once about that to the point of restaurants failing. They said most restaurants fail because they're opened by chefs.
Exactly.
And so
I'm not a chef.
I was going to say, yeah. So you weren't, you saw the potential, the opportunity, and like figuring it out as you go. But
yeah,
right.
I did a lot of P&Ls, different scenarios. I mean, I took classes at Cornell, like online classes at Cornell on restaurants and, how to make it all work. I wasn't like you said, most restaurants fail because it's a chef who wants to open their own place. Well, when you open your own place, you're the chef. You're not running the business. You have to run the business before you be the chef. So I came from it from a business perspective, and I learned a lot in all my flipping houses with the financials and stuff. And so it wasn't hard for me to put it on paper and know, okay, I have to sell this many meals at this price to be able to just break even. When I hired my general manager, she said, do you have a P&L? And I said, yeah, here it is. And she's like, well, this doesn't show you making any money. And I said, no, it means I'm not losing money, right? This is what I need to do to not lose money. And that's like, let's start there and then we can go from there. So
we're sitting in one of two. So can you tell us a little bit about, was the idea always for two? And can you tell us kind of the two that you have right now?
Yeah. So when I bought the lot, I did a survey to the community, like this community, and asked like, what did they want most out of this lot? So this property, the park, Oakmont, and these houses behind us are a accumulation of 18 acres, which was promised to West Park as like a second Fountains, like a big mall. So everyone who moved out here thought they were going to get a movie theater and all these stores and all this great stuff. From 2003 is when they were promised this, and it just got smaller and smaller and redeveloped. So the community out here, they were pissed. So I was trying to just feed like, okay, what are they going to want? What do they want? And I knew I wanted to do a restaurant. I knew it was going to be family atmosphere and American food, just generic, trying to cover all bases of people who could eat. But the other two things that I hadn't thought about was they wanted a coffee shop. And I thought, yeah, why wouldn't you want a coffee shop? Of course you want a coffee shop. And then the third one was a taqueria or Mexican food. And then they said, like a postal annex and like all these different business, hair salon, different things. So,
and how did you survey them? Were you knocking on doors? Were you sending
I did like
things
a
out?
monkey, like one of the electronic surveys, and I sent it out to nextdoor.com and said, hey, this is, I'm trying to get, because I had to get
smart.
the community to like sign off on our plans and everything. So going to all the Roseville planning events that we had to go to, I tried to do as much as I could to include them in on like, hey, what do you guys, I'm not like, and that's why the two guys sold it to me, was that I'm not a corporate builder. I'm not a developer. They felt like I was going to keep it really community based.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a restaurant in Phoenix that I was visiting my friend again, and they it's called Lucy's at the Orchard, and it's a little coffee shop, super cute, and it's connected by a patio space with orchard. And then there's a restaurant there, and I thought, God, that's a really great idea. You kind of have the morning and then you have the night, and it's connected the two, and it was just I thought a great idea. And so that's what I told my architects, that I was like, let's incorporate this coffee shop. I don't know if I'll run it or if I'll just lease it out or whatever, but this is what it should look like and this and that. And so it didn't, so we're at Mojoe's right now, and it was an evolution. Kitchen 747 was always going to be a restaurant. Like that was kind of my dream restaurant. But Mojoe's evolved dependent on what other tenants I got in the center. So like I tried to get an Ike's sandwich. I tried to get Nick's tacos. I tried to get Kiki's chicken, like all these different things, and they didn't evolve. So I was trying for Mojoe's to be like everything that could be anything other than 747. So I thought I could open Mojoe's, and how hard could it be? Yes, I've heard the restaurant business is hard, but like how hard can it really be? So I asked a friend of mine to help, and she started it with me, and she didn't have a lot of experience either, but she was enthusiastic, and we hired our kids as baristas and went through the whole interview process as it was building. I hired a general manager for the restaurant in April of 2021, which is now like we're 6 months away from opening ish. So the buildings are up and everything. And
so stop there. So you hiring us at the height of COVID.
Oh yeah, that was that.
Yeah, so there was a lot of fear and anxiety going on.
Yeah, so 2020 was when COVID hit was the time I had to decide if I was going to actually go through with the building or not.
Oh wow.
And I thought COVID coming on was going to be good for us in pricing for construction. I thought everything was going to die down, and it didn't make it any less. I thought it less of a great location, and who knew what was going to happen with COVID, but I felt like things were going to get back to normal at some point. So I said, yes, let's go, because I thought all these other construction projects are going to be put on hold. And so I'm going to get great pricing and great this and that. Well, it was exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
So the project probably cost 20% more than it should have. But still kept it in kind of within the budget that we had originally planned.
I love the story. So as you're hiring staff, you hired a general manager. So the difference in your career path, going from golf, which is a single, that's on you. You have people around you supporting, and then you're flipping homes. It's on you. I guess you're managing some of the contractors. Now you're a business owner and you're a leader. So how is that transition? How was that for you? Was it natural? Like I don't know how many people you have working here, but now you're the boss.
I know. It was, I feel like I'm a good leader. I'm not, I've learned that I'm not a good manager of people. Probably because I don't, and I now also told my husband, I said, I now know how difficult I am to live with, because like, I don't think like him. He is a process, as he's an engineer. He thinks like, this is how things have to happen. And I'm just more of a broad idea person. Like, oh my God, we should do this. We should go on an RV and go on a golf tour, So when we, getting into it, I wasn't thinking like, I was thinking I was going to employ people. I thought it was going to be great for them. It's going to be kids in the community. It's going to be a great atmosphere for our staff. I was going to give opportunities to people that
all the great things that could happen.
It was all about creating this community and this family of employees and staff. And again, I entrusted the restaurant into the general manager I hired, because it became bigger than I thought. Like the building's bigger, it was going to be a big operation, and I knew that I couldn't do that. So I hired somebody that could do that for me, and I really gave her free will. Like I told her what my vision and my culture that I wanted, but other than that, it was her experience that really opened the restaurant. Mojoe's opened a month or 2 months before the restaurant. I wish it were the opposite way around, but it wasn't. So we opened here, and I did not know what I was doing, and it was I don't know if I could swear here, but it was a shit show. It was not.
That's the good part.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What were the hardest parts? Or what were the hard parts?
We hired first of all, like my vision here was broad, right? I wanted coffee. I have ice cream. It was going to be breakfast, and then now I was going to do lunch too, because there was no other lunch places really.
So too much.
So it was like, yeah, you're trying to do too much. We hired a chef who was great, but he had some struggles and didn't get off to. We found him up here, passed out the opening day, and so we sent him home. He was unwell, and so anyway, we fired him the first day, and my daughter became very quickly my like partner, but also like my support for sanity wise. We opened without cash. Like I didn't even have a cash in my cash drawer. We had closing, like we had some structure, but it was, I can't even remember. The first few weeks was just the friend that I hired to help. After 2 weeks, she was like, this is just not working for me. Like I haven't seen my kid in 2 weeks, and I don't see my husband. And, I ended up hiring after the first like week, my general manager's girlfriend, because she had some restaurant experience, and I had gotten to know them well, and I was like, I need somebody here that knows what they're doing. And so she came on. Her name's Ashley, and my daughter stepped up from where Jennifer left, and we my daughter and I probably spent 20 hours a day here for 4 months just trying to like
Get it
going. Like once we opened, we never closed. So we were open from, I think we started opening at 7 or 8 a.m. and then we closed at 7 or 8 p.m. for that first 3 or 4 months. And I'm smart. I'm not like, I felt like we could figure it out, and we did figure it out, but it was just a lot.
I love it. It's so, we always talk because his style is very like, let's just do it. And I'm like, well, hold on. I need my note, like at least a rough outline. What if this happens with it? He's like, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that is me.
Oh
We'll
my gosh.
So I can see the smile on your face as you look back. Obviously it was painful, but still it's the journey part, right? You don't get to here without that. And those mistakes you'll never make again.
Right. Learned a lot. My daughter, to your point, my daughter, there was one time where she left for like a night or two, and she came back and I had added a menu items. It was our breakfast sandwich. So like, because I was really trying, we after our opening day, we went right into just serving coffee because we didn't have the kitchen staff. So we were just doing coffee, but I'm like, we're not going to make enough money in just coffee to pay this big building. Like we have to, and she's like, but she also was working at the restaurant for Emily. And so she was learning things over there that I wasn't learning, and she was bringing them over here.
Oh,
and
very cool.
We battled though. Like we were like best friends, but we were at each other's throats for the first few months because she was you and I was him. And it was like she came back and she's helping somebody at the cashiers, and they're like, "Oh, we'll have the veggie breakfast sandwich," and she goes, "The what?" And I'm in the kitchen, and she pops up. She goes, "Mom, what is that?" And I was like, It's a sandwich we made.
Yeah.
Tyler and I created it yesterday, and it's on the menu now." She's okay, and she walks out and she rang it up and she goes, "You can't just create a sandwich. What happens when you and Tyler leave? Who's making the sandwich? How do they know to make it?" And then you're like, I was like,
that's
I'll just stay here until I guess
nobody
we close
wants
it.
sandwiches.
Until nobody wants sandwiches. So it was a lot of that.
Wow.
It was a lot of that. But it's fun. It was fun.
I absolutely love it. So we're coming up on an hour. So how is business going? And
business is going really well. I have a general manager here at Mojoe's we hired 4 or 5 months in. She came in from Starbucks, and she's been with us for 2 years. She left for a little while to pursue a career for herself, but she didn't love it, so she came back. So I am limitedly involved in Mojoe's. Kitchen 747 is doing great. My general manager, Emily, she stayed for 2 years. She and her partner, Ashley was actually diagnosed with leukemia a year after we opened. And so we spent all of 2023 essentially supporting them and trying to get them through that. So the managers under her really ran the restaurant and just kept it going. And it was our community is super, super supportive. But she recently left to open the taco shop that just opened up like a month ago.
Oh, wow.
I partnered with her and Ashley to open that, but I said, I'll just be like my parents were to me. I'll be the financial backer and you run it. So she's going through what I went through with Mojoe's right now. Even though she has all the experience for a full service restaurant, fast service
looks
really
like you're enjoying
is
it.
a lot different. It's a lot different.
I bet.
She'll text me like, just please tell me it gets better. It does. It does. It really does.
We survive.
Yeah. So now I'm the general manager next door at the restaurant. So I decided to take that role so I could learn that business so that when I hire another general manager, I'll at least have some knowledge of how it runs. So I'm super busy, but it's been fun. Good. I anticipate maybe 6 more months to a year of and then kind of stepping back and being able to hopefully enjoy them more. Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest maybe business lessons you've learned? Just one or two.
That the restaurant business is as hard as everyone says.
Yeah.
I don't think I really thought it was as hard, but it's also like really enjoyable because it's ever changing. Kind of on a golf course, you never have the same shot twice, right? You never have the same day twice. Like you're constantly ordering food for however many guests you think are going to come the next day. It's mathematical because you're looking at history as far as like your numbers, but you just never know, especially in this location. We are the only ones in West Park. So if you come here because you've heard about it from somebody else, you drive by it, or, it's part of your community. But you're not driving out to Home Depot and, let's stop at Kitchen 747, because there's still nothing out here. Costco is supposed to open soon. So I felt like we could open 3 to 5 years before like other commercial businesses got out here, we could at least have enough regulars and kind of good reviews and stuff to make it past the
smart
thing. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question, but
no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was driving out here. I was like, "Wow, how far?" I was like, "Where is this?" It doesn't seem like it's. And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a little bit out here, but it's a good." I had read about it, and like the neighbor was like, "Yeah, house is like right across the street," and I was like, "Oh, it's very true." So
they're everywhere. Spot. I mean, we have so many people who can walk.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. So I always have one staple question that I ask on the podcast, and it is, if you could talk to your 30-year-old self.
30-year-old self?
30-year-old self, yes. Knowing what you know now, what you've been through, just who you are today, what piece of it, like one piece of advice would you give your 30-year-old self? Could be business, could be life, anything.
Gosh, that's interesting. I would say 30-year-old self, playing golf. I would say don't change a thing. I don't know. I have no regrets in how I've done anything, and I just feel like maybe I would say, hey, the restaurant's going to be harder than you thought. But other than that, I think at 30 I probably wasn't very confident still, because I was golfing at the time. I would say, just keep going.
I love it. So I have just listening to my questions aren't always staple questions, but given what you know, given advice to other entrepreneurs, regardless of what the industry is, you did it on a meaningful amount of planning, but there was still a lot you didn't know. So would your advice be just go for it, or take more time and plan it out?
Like for this?
Just in general for entrepreneurs. Those are thinking about I want to open a business. I want to do something, like just go and the path will appear, or are you more?
That was kind of my statement was like, if you build it, they will come. But that was just for this like location. I think I've always been a believer in going after your dreams. I've been very fortunate in my life to have financial support from my parents and not struggle and not have the worry of that. So I understand, I'm super fortunate. Not everyone has that, but I would say that like, if you're passionate about something, if you're talking about it a lot, give it a try. I mean, the worst case scenario is it doesn't work out. You fail, but you'll get back up on your feet somehow, and then you go to the next one. But if you don't ever do it, you're always just going to wonder.
Yeah. Well, this has been an incredible story. Didn't know you walking in.
Yeah. It's exactly why we do the podcast. So I appreciate you saying yes to being on the podcast. Our listeners, and I always tell everyone, I get this is just as much for me as it is for anybody listening. So I appreciate the story, the advice, the journey. I love to hear that it's not always easy. It's messy. It's chaotic, but it works out. So I think it's wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah.